Why women get addicted to men who act like they're nothing. Psychology tips. Love is not about possession. Love is about appreciation. Osho. Picture this. You meet a woman who turns heads without even trying. Sharp mind. Strong presence. The kind of confidence people respect. So you decide, I'm going to do this the right way. You show up big, flowers, sweet texts, plan dates, constant check-ins. You're always available, always reassuring, always proving. You're not pretending. You genuinely like her. But then, something starts to feel off. Her replies get shorter. Her energy cools. The spark that used to be there begins to fade. And you're standing there like, how can doing everything right lead to losing her? Here's the part most men don't want to admit. It's rarely your kindness that kills attraction. It's the feeling that your attention is too guaranteed. When a woman knows she can get you anytime, with zero effort, your presence stops feeling like something she earns. It starts feeling like something she can access on demand. And the human mind gets used to anything that's always available, not because she's evil, not because she's ungrateful, but because desire isn't built on certainty alone. It's built on emotion, mystery, and tension. That's why some women get strangely hooked on men who act like they're nothing. Not necessarily rude men, not abusive men, but men who feel self-contained, men who don't chase, men who don't make her the center of their universe. Those men have something powerful, a life that doesn't pause for anyone. They have boundaries, they have purpose, they have standards, and that creates a question in her mind. Where do I stand with him? Am I really special to him? Did I earn that attention? Or is he like this with everyone? That question keeps her emotionally invested. Because when the outcome isn't fully certain, the mind stays engaged. She thinks more, feels more, tries more. And little by little, she attaches. But listen carefully, this is not permission to play games, ignore her, or act cold. It's not about pretending you don't care. It's about a healthy balance most men never learn. Be warm, but don't become a servant. Be consistent, but don't become predictable. Show love, but don't lose your spine. Give attention, but make it meaningful, not endless. Because here's the truth, a woman doesn't want a man who worships her like a god. She wants a man who can love her deeply without abandoning himself. And when you stop trying to win her with nonstop effort and instead lead with purpose, calm confidence, and self-respect, something flips. She doesn't feel chased. She feels challenged. She doesn't feel overwhelmed. She feels drawn in. That's when attraction becomes real. Not forced. Not begged for. Just natural. Stay with me, because once you truly understand this dynamic, you'll stop blaming yourself for being too good, and you'll stop copying toxic men just to keep a woman's interest. Next, we'll break down why nice often loses power, what actually keeps desire alive long term, and how to become the kind of man a woman respects and craves without acting fake, cold, or desperate. Let's start clean and clear, because this matters more than most men realize. Attraction isn't a moral choice. It's a biological response. Women don't sit down and decide to feel it. It runs quietly in the background, shaped by millions of years of evolution, long before modern comfort showed up. For most of human history, a woman's survival depended on choosing a man whose overall capacity for protection, provision, and direction exceeded her own. Not because she wanted power over him, but because nature demanded safety and continuity. A poor choice wasn't inconvenient. It was fatal. Pregnancy increased vulnerability. Children required time and resources. There were no second chances when winter came or danger arrived. That pressure carved a simple rule into the subconscious. Attraction flows toward perceived upward value. This isn't cruelty. That is programming. And even though grocery stores are full and police exist, the emotional brain still runs ancient software. When a woman senses, even subtly, that a man's internal value feels equal to or lower than hers, the attraction switch doesn't argue. It dims. Not out of spite, out of instinct. This is why behavior matters more than appearances. When a man acts overly eager, constantly seeks reassurance, over-explains his intentions, or rearranges his entire life to avoid losing approval, he unknowingly sends signals that once meant limited options and poor long-term security. Her conscious mind may enjoy the attention, but her subconscious reads the pattern and quietly steps back. Don't argue with biology. Learn it. This is where the idea often called hypergamy comes into play, not as an insult, but as a lens. Dating functions like a marketplace where perception carries enormous weight. Everyone has a value shaped by presence, self control, direction, emotional steadiness, and social awareness. Yes, looks and resources matter, but they are supporting characters, not the lead role. What truly shifts attraction is how you carry yourself, how you respond to uncertainty, and how much your sense of self depends on her reaction. You must understand this if you want real results. Many men believe value is something you show by giving more, proving more, or chasing harder. Don't. That is backwards. Consider this contrast. One man appears impressive on paper, successful career, expensive car, physically fit. He compliments constantly, plans elaborate dates, answers instantly, and makes it clear she is the center of his world. On the surface, it looks generous. Underneath, it signals scarcity. After a short time, interest fades. Not because he lacks qualities, but because his behavior communicates that her approval is the prize he's afraid to lose. Now compare him to another man with fewer visible assets. Smaller apartment, simpler lifestyle. But he moves through interactions calmly. He enjoys the moment. He teases lightly. He doesn't panic over silence. He has a life that doesn't pause for validation. Suddenly, attention flips. She leans in. She wonders. She invests. The difference isn't money or muscles. It's perceived value. One man behaves like he has options. The other behaves like he hopes to be chosen. That distinction changes everything. Be aware. Be grounded. Be selective with your energy. That is what creates pull. Attraction grows in the space where curiosity lives, not where pressure suffocates it. If you want real psychology tips, start here. Neediness repels, calm confidence attracts, and emotional independence signals strength without saying a word. This isn't about manipulation. It's about alignment. Good love advice doesn't tell you to act cold. It tells you to act complete. Dating tips that work aren't tricks. They're reminders to build a life you don't abandon for attention. Don't chase approval. Invite connection. Don't overgive. Show presence. Don't perform value. Live it. When you stop trying to convince her, you give her room to feel. When you stop fearing loss, you increase interest. That is how attraction forms. And remember, psychology tips, love advice, dating tips all point to the same truth. Perceived value shapes desire far more than raw credentials ever will. If this helped you, like, share, and subscribe for more psychology tips. Comment to remember, I live my value. I don't chase approval. Dear friend, women are constantly scanning for social cues about your value, often without even realizing it. They notice how you handle rejection, how you react when things don't go your way, and how you hold yourself in social settings. These details may seem small, but they speak loudly. Your posture, your tone, your ability to stay calm under pressure, these are behavioral signals that matter far more than your bank account. Money can open doors, but behavior determines whether she wants to stay. A man who remains steady when tested sends a quiet but powerful message, I trust myself. That self-trust is magnetic. If you become flustered easily, chase reassurance, or explain yourself too much, she notices that as well. Not with judgment, but with instinct. And instinct rarely lies. Here is the second golden rule you must understand. The less certain a woman is about your interest, the more mental energy she invests in thinking about you. This is not manipulation. This is basic psychology. We value what we're uncertain about and take for granted what we're sure of. When something is guaranteed, the mind relaxes. When something is unclear, the mind leans in. Uncertainty creates focus. When you show all your cards immediately, text constantly, and make it obvious you're completely smitten, you remove all mystery. She no longer has to wonder, imagine, or invest. You're giving your attention away for free, and anything given freely, without effort, quickly loses its value. This is the psychology of attraction. Attraction does not grow from reassurance, it grows from curiosity. When you maintain a level of uncertainty, something interesting happens. Her mind begins to work. Does he like me? Why didn't he text back? What is he doing right now? That mental engagement is the foundation of attraction. It's not anxiety and it's not insecurity, it's involvement. Once her mind is engaged, emotions often follow. Picture this. You meet her, have a great conversation, feel genuine chemistry, and exchange numbers. The average man texts the next day, "Hey, that was an incredible evening. You're amazing. When can I see you again?" It sounds sincere and kind, but it quietly kills momentum because there is nothing left to discover. Now compare that to the man who understands attraction. He waits 2 or 3 days, not to play games, but because his life is full. Then he sends a simple message, "Coffee Tuesday at 3 p.m." No extra enthusiasm, no validation, just a clear invitation that shows interest without urgency. That message communicates confidence, direction, and self control. This is one of the most practical psychology tips men overlook. Humans are wired for intermittent reinforcement. When rewards are predictable, we adapt and lose interest. When rewards are unpredictable, attention sharpens. Casinos are built on this principle. Social media thrives on it. Attraction follows the same rules. Your attention works the same way. Give it constantly and she gets used to it. Give it unpredictably and she becomes engaged. This isn't cruelty. It's human nature. Think of your attention and approval as a currency. Like any currency, its value is determined by scarcity. Give validation away freely and it becomes cheap. Make it something that is earned and it becomes meaningful. Most men make a critical mistake by front-loading all their validation. They compliment constantly, agree with everything, and make it clear she's the center of their universe within days. They don't realize they've spent their entire emotional budget in the first week. Attraction needs room to grow. Women are exceptionally skilled at reading your level of investment. She doesn't need you to say, "I love you." She sees it in how fast you reply, how your energy shifts when she enters the room, and how quickly you rearrange your life around her preferences. When your life shrinks to accommodate her, she feels pressure, not desire. Here's what you must understand. Women want to feel special, but they want to earn that feeling. When you give it away without effort, it loses meaning. Effort creates value. I once had a friend who dated a model. She was accustomed to men constantly praising her appearance. Instead of doing the same, he occasionally acknowledged her intelligence when she made a thoughtful point or praised her humor when she genuinely made him laugh. His validation was conditional, based on her behavior rather than her presence. She had to earn it, which made it far more valuable than the endless praise she received elsewhere. Predictability is one of the fastest ways to erode attraction. When she knows exactly how you'll react, knows your routine, and can anticipate your every move, her interest gradually fades. This is why many relationships begin with passion and slowly slide into routine. The man, trying to be dependable, becomes completely predictable. Same calls, same places, same reactions. Predictability signals to her subconscious that she has figured you out. When she stops investing mental energy in understanding you, attraction naturally diminishes. This is why the so-called bad boy stereotype persists. It's not that women are drawn to men who treat them poorly. They are drawn to men who are unpredictable, who don't follow a rigid script, and who keep things dynamic. Suspense creates engagement, and engagement fuels attraction. Another crucial insight from psychology tips many men ignore is this: women are constantly testing you. Not your competence, but your level of investment. When she acts distant, mentions another man, or seems unimpressed by your success, she's observing how you respond. She's measuring whether you'll chase approval. If you immediately try to win back her favor, you're silently communicating, "I like you more than you like me." Once that imbalance becomes clear, the dynamic shifts, quietly but permanently. When she holds that leverage, attraction often declines. It becomes difficult for desire to thrive when one person is clearly overinvested. Your urgency confirms her subconscious doubts about your position in the dynamic. So don't rush. Don't overgive. Don't center your entire world around winning approval. Be steady. Be selective. Be grounded. That isn't emotional distance, it's strength. These psychology tips aren't tricks. They're principles. Use them as love advice, not manipulation. Apply them as dating tips, not rigid rules. Mystery invites curiosity. Curiosity creates investment. Investment fuels attraction. That is why men who seem calm, unhurried, and self contained, men who act like they're nothing, often end up meaning everything. Attraction is not built by chasing, pleasing, or proving. Here is the truth most men never hear clearly, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Attraction is not built by chasing, pleasing, or proving. It is built by emotional self control, calm certainty, and the quiet power of a man who does not flinch when tested. In modern life, especially in dating, women don't consciously test men. They observe reactions. They observe emotional stability. They observe whether your presence feels grounded or needy. This is why women so often become deeply drawn to men who seem relaxed, centered, and slightly out of reach. Not because those men are careless, but because they are internally complete. As Marcus Aurelius said, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. That strength shows immediately in how you respond when she mentions another man, an ex, or casually praises someone else. The man who panics, competes, or tries to reclaim attention reveals insecurity. The man who stays calm, maybe even agrees, signals abundance, confidence, and emotional independence. This is not manipulation. It is psychology. Real psychology tips grounded in how attraction forms at a subconscious level. The same principle applies when plans change at the last minute. Modern dating is full of uncertainty, canceled plans, shifting schedules, and emotional noise. The man who reacts with frustration, pressure, or instant rescheduling communicates that his life revolves around her approval. The man who simply says, "No problem," and goes on with his day demonstrates that his world is full, his time is valuable, and his emotions are not easily pulled. That calm response creates intrigue. As Carl Jung said, what you resist persists. The man who resists nothing, who reacts to nothing, becomes psychologically magnetic. When her mood turns distant or cold, most men rush to fix it, soothe it, or decode it. That is the mistake. Attraction does not grow through emotional caretaking. It grows through emotional symmetry. When you calmly mirror energy without hostility, without pleading, without explanation, you allow balance to return naturally. People value what feels steady, not what feels reactive. This dynamic plays out constantly in modern relationships where attention is currency and emotional composure is power. Attraction is not logical. It is biological and emotional. When a man consistently overinvests, overexplains, or overpursues, the subconscious signal sent is that he lacks options, lacks self-direction, and lacks inner certainty. That signal slowly drains desire. Not out of cruelty, not out of calculation, but because the nervous system responds to confidence and pulls away from instability. Once men understand this, it becomes freeing. Her shifting interest stops feeling personal and starts feeling like feedback. When a woman feels uncertain about your availability, not confused, but uncertain, her communication shifts. She becomes clearer, warmer, more direct. People protect what they value. This is why mixed signals disappear when your behavior becomes grounded. Clarity is a response to perceived value, not persuasion. Most love advice and dating tips miss this. They focus on status, money, looks. Those help, but they are not the core. You can be successful, fit, and well-dressed and still lose attraction if your reactions communicate neediness. Meanwhile, another man with an average life but strong emotional posture can hold attention effortlessly. Attraction lives in how you make someone feel in your presence, not what you own. As Epictetus said, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. What you must become is emotionally steady, self-directed, and calm under pressure. True psychology tips focus on behavior, not tactics. Every impulsive reaction reveals your center. Every composed response raises your value without saying a word. In modern dating, where attention is fragmented and options are endless, emotional composure stands out more than ever. The man who masters his emotional investment does not rush, chase, or overdisplay interest. He creates tension naturally, mystery naturally, respect naturally, not by playing games, but by living a full life that does not hinge on validation. This is real power. The power to be chosen without forcing, desired without proving, respected without demanding. Real attraction is not negotiated, it is felt. Once you understand this, your entire approach changes. You stop performing, you stop explaining, you stop chasing certainty. Instead, you move with calm intent. Interest rises naturally, and that is mastery. Mastery of self, mastery of connection, mastery of life. If you made it this far, you already understand what most men never grasp. Attraction isn't earned by chasing or explaining, it's felt through calm, self control, and inner certainty. From this moment on, you stop reacting and start leading yourself. Comment the sentence below to lock it in. I choose emotional control over chasing, and I let attraction respond to my calm. Tell the algorithm and yourself who you're becoming. Poor treatment. My friend, let's get one thing straight from the beginning. This is not about becoming cold. It's not about mistreating anyone. And it's definitely not about tricks, games, or manipulation. This is about how attraction actually works in the real world, not how we wish it worked in our heads. Most men put their energy into upgrading external things, better clothes, a nicer car, a higher paying job. And yes, those things can help. But they're not the real game. The real game happens underneath the surface, in perception, emotional dynamics, and psychology. That's where attraction is formed, and that's also where many good men get blindsided. Here's the uncomfortable truth that confuses a lot of decent men. Women often choose men who treat them worse over men who treat them better. Not because they enjoy pain, chaos, or disrespect, and not because they lack values. They do it because poor treatment often signals high value. That sentence doesn't feel good to hear, but it matters. When a man is willing to risk losing a woman, when he doesn't place her needs at the center of his entire universe, he sends a powerful emotional message. It says he has a life, he has options, and he will be fine either way. That signal carries more weight than flowers, constant compliments, or endless availability. A man who doesn't chase approval isn't begging for validation. And when he doesn't need validation to feel okay, he comes across as solid, grounded, and centered. That calm confidence is felt immediately. The good guy, without realizing it, often sends the opposite signal. His behavior quietly communicates fear of losing her, fear of not being enough, fear that this has to work. He replies too fast, adjusts himself too much, and over-explains everything. That fear leaks out. And fear, logically, emotionally, and biologically, is not attractive. This isn't a moral judgment. It's a psychological reality. Where many men get lost is in believing that love grows through gratitude, consistency, and always being there. That's how loyalty works, but attraction plays by different rules. Attraction doesn't obey logic. It can't be negotiated, and it can't be earned through sacrifice. You can be kind, reliable, and generous and still lose her interest. Why? Because attraction is a primal response, not a reward system. When you treat a woman too quickly, with no friction, no mystery, and no edge, you remove tension. And tension is oxygen for desire. The more you initiate every date, the more you call, the more you rearrange your life around her, the more predictable everything becomes. At first, she may think it's sweet, but slowly, something shifts inside her. One day she just feels it. I don't feel it anymore. She didn't plan it. She didn't analyze it. She just felt it. And feelings drive behavior. This is why women stay with men who challenge them emotionally. They feel like they're reaching upward. And it's also why they often leave men who treat them perfectly. Not because the man did something wrong, but because nothing was required of her. One of the most important truths in relationship psychology is this: women don't fall in love with men. They fall in love with how men make them feel. When you make her feel like she's the prize and you're lucky just to be there, she may feel powerful, but power is not attraction. It's comfort. And comfort alone doesn't create desire. When your time feels valuable, when your attention is present but not guaranteed, and when she senses that she has to earn your investment, something different appears. Curiosity, excitement, emotional pull. Not because you're distant, but because you're selective. She doesn't need anxiety or confusion. She just needs a light, intoxicating uncertainty, enough to wonder, enough to lean in, enough to care. Too much predictability suffocates attraction. Too much distance kills connection. The balance is everything. Emotions always lead. Logic follows. If her emotions say she likes you, she reaches out. If her emotions say you no longer feel valuable, she pulls back. She doesn't argue with herself. She follows the feeling. Your role is not to convince her or prove your worth. Your role is to create the right emotional environment, one where she feels drawn toward you, but never feels like you're unreachable. That balance is where attraction lives. This isn't a fairy tale. It's real love advice grounded in how people actually feel and behave. Here's the truth most men learn late, and the men who win learn early. Frame control is everything. Your frame is not an opinion. It is your reality. It is your standards, your direction, and the way you move through the world without asking for permission. When a man knows who he is, how he sees the relationship, and what he expects from life, he stops reacting and starts leading. Women don't test a man to break him. They test him to see if he will break himself. When you abandon your perspective to keep the peace, you don't earn closeness. You lose respect. When you calmly hold your ground, without anger, without pleading, without explaining yourself to exhaustion, you signal stability. Quiet certainty. That's the signal. As Marcus Aurelius said, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. A man with frame control doesn't argue to win. He lives his truth and lets reality do the talking. This is where many men get confused about attraction. Love and attraction are not the same system. Love is care, shared values, reliability, and emotional safety. Attraction lives in challenge, mystery, and the feeling that something must be earned. Modern life has trained men to believe that being endlessly agreeable will secure desire, but desire doesn't respond to comfort alone. Desire responds to tension, to polarity, to direction. A man can be kind, loyal, and supportive and still be invisible if he lacks presence and self-respect. Without attraction, love becomes polite companionship. Duty replaces desire. Routine replaces fire. As Oscar Wilde put it, everything in the world is about sex except sex. Sex is about power. Not control over others, but control over yourself. Men who maintain long-lasting, passionate relationships understand this balance. They give warmth without chasing. They offer commitment without clinging. They listen without losing themselves. They remain unpredictable in their growth, their goals, their inner life. That unpredictability is not chaos. It's momentum. It's forward motion. Women become deeply drawn to men who are already engaged with life, not men who orbit them for meaning. This is where psychology tips, love advice, and dating tips converge into one instruction. Stop trying to convince her of your value and start embodying it. Confidence is not loud. It is consistent. It is shown in how you respond under pressure, how you say no without guilt, how you don't rush to fix emotions that aren't yours to fix. In modern relationships, distractions are everywhere. Options appear endless. Attention is currency. The man who holds his frame doesn't compete. He doesn't negotiate desire. He sets the pace and invites others to walk with him. As James Baldwin said, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. Face this truth. Attraction must be maintained. Love must be nurtured. One without the other collapses. This is not about manipulation. It's about self-mastery. It's about becoming solid enough that someone feels safe leaning into you without you leaning on them. If you want real psychology tips, Lasting love advice and effective dating tips. Start here. Build a life you respect. Hold your frame with calm authority and let attraction grow naturally from the man you are becoming. Stop chasing approval. Stop performing goodness. Become grounded. Become intentional. Become the man who chooses, not the man who waits. When you do that, relationships stop feeling like work and start feeling like alignment. That is victory. That is mastery. Emotional safety comes from strength, not submission. Here's a truth that quietly changes everything once you really understand it. Women don't feel emotionally safe with men who surrender themselves. They feel emotionally safe with men who are strong enough to stay themselves. This is where most men misunderstand being good and accidentally sabotage attraction. Emotional safety is not built by constant reassurance, endless availability, or sacrificing your needs to keep her comfortable. That kind of behavior may look loving on the surface, but underneath, it creates instability. Why? Because if a man can abandon himself so easily, his emotions, his boundaries, and even his identity feel fragile. And fragility does not feel safe. A woman relaxes when she senses that a man's inner world is solid, that he can hear her emotions without being consumed by them, that he can love her without needing her to regulate his self-worth, that he can stay calm when things feel uncertain. Emotional safety comes from consistency of character, not submission of self. Many men believe that if they make a woman feel like the most important thing in the world, she will feel secure and therefore attracted. But importance and dependency are not the same as safety. When a woman feels responsible for your happiness, your mood, and your sense of direction, she doesn't feel cherished, she feels burdened. Attraction struggles to survive under that weight. Think about it carefully. If every disagreement threatens your peace, if every shift in her mood sends you into overthinking, if every silence makes you anxious, what does that communicate? It tells her that your emotional stability depends on her behavior. And when someone feels like they hold that much power over you, desire often fades. Not because she wants to dominate, but because the dynamic feels unbalanced. True emotional safety is created when a man can say, without words, I can handle myself. I am steady even when things are unclear. I care deeply, but I will not disappear to be accepted. This is why men who seem emotionally grounded, men who don't rush to fix every emotion or explain every feeling, often feel calming to women. Their presence lowers nervous energy instead of amplifying it. They don't escalate tension. They absorb it and remain centered. Here's a subtle but powerful distinction most men miss: responding versus reacting. A reactive man moves from emotion. A responsive man moves from intention. When she's upset, the reactive man panics. He apologizes for things he didn't do. He overjustifies. He tries to restore harmony immediately. The responsive man listens. He acknowledges her feelings. He stays calm. He doesn't rush to erase discomfort because he isn't afraid of it. That calm response builds trust. Not the polite kind of trust, but deep nervous system trust. Her body senses that this man is not easily shaken, that his emotions are regulated, that he can hold space without collapsing. And that sense of steadiness is deeply attractive. Another key point most dating advice ignores: attraction grows when a woman feels free, not managed. When a man constantly checks in, constantly asks for reassurance, constantly adjusts himself to avoid displeasing her, she may feel cared for, but she doesn't feel free. Freedom allows desire to breathe. Control, even self-inflicted control, suffocates it. When you maintain your own rhythm, your own priorities, your own emotional center, you give her room to choose you, not feel obligated to keep you okay. Choice fuels attraction. Obligation kills it. This is also why women often feel more connected to men who don't overshare emotionally in the early stages. It's not that vulnerability is bad. It's that premature emotional dumping signals a lack of containment. Vulnerability is powerful when it comes from strength, not when it comes from emotional overflow. A man who knows when to open up and when to stay grounded communicates emotional intelligence. He doesn't make her his therapist. He doesn't use her attention to soothe his insecurities. He processes his emotions responsibly and shares them intentionally. That balance creates depth without pressure. Here's the paradox: the less you need her to feel whole, the safer she feels leaning into you. Not because you're distant, but because you're complete. And completeness is magnetic. When a woman senses that you enjoy her but don't require her, desire flows more freely. She can move toward you without fear of being trapped. She can invest emotionally without worrying that she's taking on responsibility for your inner world. This is why the men who act like they're nothing often feel like everything. They're not empty. They're full, full of direction, full of purpose, full of emotional regulation. They don't beg for connection. They invite it. So, if you want to build attraction that lasts, stop trying to be endlessly pleasing. Start becoming emotionally steady. Learn to sit with uncertainty without rushing to resolve it. Learn to hold your boundaries with kindness. Learn to care without clinging. Because real attraction doesn't come from how much you give, it comes from who you are when you give it. And when a woman feels that your presence is strong, calm, and self directed, something powerful happens. She doesn't feel responsible for you. She feels safe with you. And from that safety, desire grows naturally. That's not manipulation. That's maturity. And that's the kind of attraction that doesn't burn out, it deepens. All right, that's the end of today's video. If you found this perspective helpful or eye-opening, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with someone who might need it, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos. Your support really helps this content reach the right people. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Do you agree with this idea? Have you seen this pattern in your own life or relationships? Or maybe you have a different take on it. Drop your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. This is a space for honest discussion, not judgment. Remember, psychology isn't about playing games or manipulating emotions. It's about understanding human behavior clearly so you can make stronger, wiser choices in your relationships and in life. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.